If you were to watch mainstream news, you may have heard that last night in Times Square, an SUV plowed through a group of protesters. My word, the driver has been arrested. And if you actually do the work of watching the videos and investigating what really happened, you'd learn that's kind of not really the truth. The car was stopped. The protesters attacked the vehicle. Now, the driver was taken into custody and was released without being charged. So why is it that when I Google search this story or when I go on Twitter, the narrative is that an SUV drives into the protesters near Times Square, or as NY1 puts it, SUV plows through crowd of Black Lives Matter protesters in Manhattan. No one's seriously injured. We keep hearing stories like this, where they're like, 50 vehicles have rammed the protesters. And it's like, bro, there was one incident in Seattle, and that was obviously an accident. So here's what ends up happening. We have this story. Fortunately, the driver is not being charged with any crime. They were attacking his vehicle. We've got the video footage. They put it on YouTube. They tell you what they're doing, but not a single journalist will do an ounce of investigation. Not a Google search, not a phone call. How is that journalism? I tell you what, man, we are in serious trouble. I love it when these lefties are like, Tim Pool's not a real journalist. He doesn't even make phone calls. When was the last time you asked for a comment, Tim? Actually, a couple weeks ago. I do it fairly often. And I don't even consider myself to be overtly doing journalism. It's obviously political commentary and opinion. But man, I tell you what, the amount of journalism I do is less than what a journalist would do. Because again, political commentary, cultural commentary. But the journalists do less than that. A journalist should find 3 sources to verify what really happened and then write it up. Instead, what they do is they just ask the protester, oh, a car hit you? Tell me more. They didn't watch the videos. They didn't seek out evidence. And then they end up putting out a story that is factually incorrect, or at the very least, misframed. This is the big challenge I think we're facing now. And I got to be honest, maybe what we're really seeing is not the degradation of journalism, but the transparency of it. You know, I got to be honest, I'd imagine that journalists back in the day still did the same stuff. Like, why would you believe that some journalist 40 years ago would bother doing the work when there was less scrutiny? Think about it. You're a journalist today. You write up this bunk story. I almost swore. And then some guy in his house on YouTube makes a whole 20-minute long video calling you out for it. You got scrutiny. There's some accountability. Now let's imagine it's 40 years ago and you're writing up a story and there's literally no one who can prove you wrong. And even if they could, who are they going to tell? Yeah. Well, this is the first story I want to show you. And then I got bad news. So you may have heard this. The couple that was painting over the Black Lives Matter mural has been charged with a hate crime. Look, I'd understand if, you said this is a sanctioned mural and they vandalized it and you give them a minor charge for vandalism, but a hate crime charge? Yeah, man. Welcome to morality policing. But again, the good news here is this guy has been released without charge. Let's read the story. And then I'm going to correct the story. They say it was a frightening end to a Manhattan protest as a driver I can't believe this. Plowed his SUV through demonstrators, dragging a bicycle several feet. An inanimate object. Okay. And it was one of those city bikes. It wasn't like Citibank, they have the bikes that you can rent. It wasn't like a person's bike. According to witnesses in the scene, no protesters were seriously injured, though EMS personnel were on scene making sure bystanders were okay. The incident happened at 42nd Street and 1st Avenue. The march had begun at Washington Square Park and made its way through the city, stopping traffic and at one point preventing drivers from entering the Lincoln Tunnel. The protesters were making their way across 42nd when the driver appeared to speed up, targeting cyclists and marchers. One cyclist, Jeffrey, told NY1's Russell Boone about the terrifying moments when the car pushed its way through the crowd. Whoa. Hold on a minute. Pushed its way through the crowd? I thought you said it was speeding up and plowed through the crowd. What does that mean, pushed through the crowd? Sounds like you got a whole different story going on here, man. Let me tell you what really happened. There's a video, and it is on YouTube, and it shows nothing bad, nothing graphic, nothing violent. It is literally just a guy in his car, but you do hear people yelling things. They're yelling, pop his effing tires, and you hear them deflating his tires, and then he slowly speeds up, and they all start screaming and banging on his, they start banging on his vehicle first. Then he slowly speeds up, I don't want to say speeding, like he's inching forward, and then people start going, yelling. And then once he's clear of protesters, he just goes, and takes off. That's it. He didn't plow through anybody. Nobody got run over. Yet, what would the media tell you? SUV plowed through demonstrators. These people love their propaganda. Yeah, it pushed its way through. Update. NYPD says the driver is now in custody and charges are pending. But according to the latest update, he has been released without charges. He didn't stop, Jeffrey said. He literally put the pedal to the metal and literally drove through the crowd. It was devastating. Welcome to the modern era, where the activists will obviously lie about everything. Man, evil people, I tell you what. One of my favorite videos is Jack Posobiec, and he's like standing on a street corner in D.C. and some guy punches him in front of the cops. And when the cops pull up, because they're like watching it happen, everyone's like, he didn't do anything, and they all start lying to the cops. This is what they do. They lie. These people are evil. They don't care about creation. They don't care about construction. They don't care about helping people. They are a destructive chaotic force that will lie to get whatever they want. And I got bad news for y'all. It works. Cheating works. I'm sorry, it does. They lie. This story is the narrative. Now, of course, y'all are watching me, so I would humbly ask that you share this video. And that's why I usually ask that you do. You know what, man, I got to be honest. The biggest challenge right now in what our country faces, what our culture faces, what free speech, liberalism in the true sense, not the colloquial sense. I mean like freedom, consent of the governed, things like that. The biggest threat we face is that we have powerful media outlets and people just blindly trust them and they're fake news. You know, Trump goes a little bit further than I would, saying enemy of the people. I say complete ineptitude, and some of these people are malicious. But I'll tell you what, this story from NY1 will probably get a lot more views than this video will. And people will see this story, then other journalists, I'll do air quotes, will see this story, and they all rewrite it. This story will then appear on 50,000 different websites in different forms over the next couple of years because they'll keep rewriting it and then smaller blogs pick it up. It'll get carried by most of the big outlets. SUV plows through protesters dragging a bike, and everyone will just believe the fake news. So what do? How do you fight it? I don't know. I really don't. I feel like sometimes you have all of these people that are building a skyscraper, and there's every single media outlet. They're building a narrative like a skyscraper. And I'm one of maybe a few people who have a little tiny hammer. We're trying to stop them from doing it. We can't. We can't stop them from building this narrative. And they lie and lie and lie. Let me actually show you this video because to be completely honest, there's nothing in it. You can see clearly the SUV is stopped, right? It is not going anywhere. And there's people just sitting in it. They're doing nothing. Let me see if I can turn the audio on this, make sure you guys can hear it. I don't know if the audio doesn't work sometimes. They're telling him to go a different way. Go this way, sir. Pop his effing tires, they just said. Pop his effing tires. You can hear the hissing. You can also see they have the city bikes with them. Now you hear them banging on his car, and he slowly inches forward and then takes off. He didn't plow into anybody. He didn't speed into anybody. That was all a lie. They said that he plowed through. I just showed you the video. They were lying. So what do you do? What do you do? I don't know. I don't. If you guys share this content, I appreciate it. And maybe that will help people realize. But man, I tell you what, there are some evil, evil people out there. I really do mean it. You know, when I was younger, I like to be like, there's no such thing as evil. Everybody has their perspective, blah, blah. No, I think that's wrong. I think about what we need to do as people to help make the world a better place, to improve things, to increase positivity, decrease negativity. And there are people like this, and they're like the Joker. Their whole goal is the destruction, pain, suffering, misery. And they lie to get what they want. They'll say things like, we're fighting for marginalized people. Well, then why would they attack marginalized people? Why would they call, say, you know, Candace Owens or people like Zuby white supremacists when they're black people? Because it's not about that. They're just lying to you. They are manipulating people's goodwill so that they can destroy and lie. I mean it. You know, I mean it. I often talk about how, you know, well, let me put it this way. There are two sides, but there's clearly a good guy and there's clearly a bad guy. It's just the way it is. You have people who don't believe in objective reality, and they manipulate stupid people as their pawns to deal damage and hurt you. They do it because they want power. Then you have the other faction, which includes a coalition of liberals and conservatives. I mean like traditional liberals in the colloquial sense, who disagree on a lot of issues. People like Dave Rubin and Ben Shapiro, who disagree on basically everything except for we're a great country, freedom of speech is important, live and let live, all of these things. We can disagree on everything. But we don't agree. But where the line stops is violence is wrong and authoritarianism is wrong. These people are violent authoritarians. They want to hurt you because it makes them feel good. Now, of course, I'm not talking about literally every single person on the left. I'm talking about the manipulators, the grifters, the higher profile people. They would tell you, I am the same thing. And that's the scary reality of what they do. I had a conversation with a couple people the other day, and they try obscuring things, saying, I'm the one lying and manipulating for power and all that stuff, when I literally just showed you the video. I just showed you the video. What does that gain for me? What do I get out of breaking their narrative? What's my overarching ideology? That's the big question. I don't have one outside of regular old liberalism. American government by the people, for the people, civil rights, social programs. I'm pro-choice. I believe in a progressive tax. These things don't matter to these people at all. So I will have no problem saying, I don't want to be in charge of anything. I don't want to be anyone's president. I don't want to, I barely like running a company as it is. That's why it's a small thing where I basically just do my thing. I don't like being in charge of other people. So when I see stories like this, I'll just tell you the truth. I don't care who it empowers. I care that you know the truth. And if the truth is that this car did not plow through these protesters and that they were attacking him, well, then I'll tell you that's what's happened. They don't like that. See, they're trying to build that narrative because they think once the skyscraper is complete, they're the ones who will sit atop that throne, but they're wrong. They won't. It'll be like, you ever see that movie, The One, with Jet Li? At the end of the movie, they transport him to his prison dimension where everyone's climbing a pyramid and he's fighting everyone off. Yeah, it'll be the Goblin King. Do you know what that is? In order to become the Goblin King, you have to kill the previous Goblin King. And that's what you will get once the skyscraper is complete. Just constant fighting and theft over power. They will not be in charge. They think they will. Now, while they're all climbing this tower to try and wrestle for the throne that they will not sit in, they're mad because I'm pointing to all of them saying they're lying to you so they can gain power over you, a power I do not want. And then they try and make the same claim about me. But listen, I'm just sitting here saying that's what happened. That's what happened. What do I get out of it? Oh, they'll argue. See, you're trying to get clicks for traffic so you can make money and all that stuff. There's other things that get way more traffic. This is the most obvious lie. Let me tell you this. People say that if, they say these people do politics because they know it's a grift and you'll make money. I love it. There's a lot more money in basically every other industry, and that news on YouTube is like the 6th or 7th ranked subject matter. And if I took all the time and energy that I put into things like this, into, I don't know, Minecraft or something, I'd probably have way more views, way more money. Why should I spend my days risking demonetization, risk being banned for subject matter that it's not the most popular content? I'd make way more money talking about celebrity pop culture and stuff. And that's a fact. Look, man, I've done videos where I've talked about, where cultural issues overlap with celebrity. And these videos are fire. They pop off. But I'm not that kind of person. That's not what I care about. What I care about is what's happening in the world and what's shaping things. These people don't. These journalists don't. These people all need to be fired. I'm sorry. This woman right here for NY1, fired. They didn't even watch the video and they write this up? Look at this, man. The protest was mostly peaceful. No one was seriously hurt. They were banging on the car and deflating its tires while threatening the people. They were saying, pop the effing tires. What is a person in the car supposed to do after every single video that has happened? Doesn't even matter. Doesn't even matter. Let's say you think the driver was wrong regardless. That's fine. You're allowed to. But I just showed you the video. The car did not plow through anyone. It was just sitting there. Then they tried deflating the tires and they were banging on it and jumping on the hood. And so the driver inched forward. They yelled, move out of the way. And then he took off. End of story. Nothing happened. That's it. But the narrative will be that cars keep plowing through the crowds. There was one story from NPR and it showed a car hitting a protester, and they claimed it was like a right-wing attack. And it turns out that photo was actually the woman in the car was the victim. And the police charged the guy, the people, the protesters, because she was stopped and they reached into her window and started beating her. And so then she just panicked, hit the gas and swerved and hit a guy. They blamed her. That's where we end up today. That's what the fake news will get you. Check this out. The morality policing is real, man. Couple are charged with hate crimes for painting over a city-sanctioned Black Lives Matter mural in California with black paint. Hate crime. Listen, if you say that it is free speech to paint in the street, then why can't anyone else do it? All right. To be fair, the mural for Black Lives Matter was permitted, meaning they applied to the city approved it, in which case, I believe Judicial Watch is suing for this in D.C. They should have the right to paint their slogan, because no one is above the law, on a street as well, because public streets are now public forums and it must be equal access to everybody. That makes more sense. These people showed up and just started painting over the mural. You can argue that's vandalism, fine. But here's the real problem. These people have gone around destroying our statues. Donald Trump has taken action to uphold the law. Several of these people have been charged and arrested. And in probably the boldest of smackdowns, Trump announced a garden of heroes where he's going to build tenfold the amount of statues they've destroyed. That I love. I love it. I don't care. You don't got to like or hate Trump. Build a garden of statues of people we revere, which includes people like Harriet Tubman. And I think that's fantastic and awesome. They want to tear down our history. Trump says, I'll build 10 times statues you tore down. Well, there you go. But these people, for the most part, in the cities and these other states where Trump isn't, Trump runs the federal government, not the state governments. They're tearing things down with impunity, for the most part. And this. So we sit back and we watch these statues being destroyed and nothing happens. And then a couple of people go with some paint and it was already painted back. They restored the mural and they get charged with a hate crime. If you told me they were being charged with like low level vandalism or something, I'd be like, yeah, okay, I get it. Because it was a permitted mural. They should apply and go through the same process because that's equality under the law. But a hate crime? Man, that's crazy stuff. Violence is getting worse. The chaos is getting worse. And the media will lie to you and the media will defend them. There's an article out in Red State. It's a conservative opinion website. And I mentioned this the other day when I was talking about Civil War. And this guy, I actually don't have it pulled up. I think his name is Brandon Morse, writes that we are in a civil war. It's just not what you expect because the people who are waging this war are smarter than to actually trigger a hot war. I've talked about this. Whether it's intentional or not, the dominoes are falling down. And I have to wonder if it's just too late. You know what I mean? With all of these major corporations now basically lining up behind intersectionalism and no one calling out the destruction of our statues except for Trump. Does it even matter if Trump gets reelected? I don't think so. Let's say Trump gets reelected. What's he going to do? The best case scenario is you see a perp walk among some Obama administration officials over Obamagate and stuff like that. Can he stop the tides of intersectionalism and the people who seek to destroy our history? He cannot. He can't do it. He can't. It's too late. There's an issue right now that people on F1 visas, the student visas, I believe they're F1s, will have to go home because they're not going to be holding any classes this semester. It's going to be online. And that makes sense. If you don't need to be here because your school is online, then why would you get a visa to be here? That's not even that hard to understand. But the left is outraged. He's deporting people or whatever. It's like your visa is so you can go to the school because the school is here. So Trump can do whatever he thinks will protect the American way of life, our culture, our borders, our jobs. But you've already got 65 million people who voted for Hillary Clinton. I know they talk about the silent majority. Maybe they'll wake up. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. I just don't believe it. I see what people post on Facebook, and you have anger addictions and rage and people who just seem otherwise zombified. Maybe a video like this can help. That's why I asked you before to share it. Because now when they hear the narrative about a car plowing through the protesters, they can see the clip I played, and I'll link in the description below. They can see that the car did not do this. So when I talk to my friends and they say things like, but the media says this, and I'm like, how do I stop this? They're lying. I don't know. It's impossible, I guess. I guess that's what the true red pill is. that you can see the media is lying all the time. And I say all the time, hyperbolically. I don't mean literally everything they post is a lie. I use them as sources. But it's typically half-truths and false framing. Did the car plow through these protesters? Quite literally, no. I would call that a lie. Pushed through the protesters, you could argue. But what if I wrote a story saying, the way I tweeted that was, BLM rioters surround SUV and attack it, yelling, "Pop his effing tires," and then the driver inches forward and then speeds off. Driver was released with no charges. There's a reason why the police released the man. You know what they're going to say? They're going to say the cops are white supremacists and they teamed up with the guy and cut him slack. There's a video of a cop. This is recent. And he flashes the OK sign at a protester. And now the left is claiming he flashed a white power hand gesture. In reality, he was so the real story, as it was actually reported, was that there was an injured protester or something to that effect, and then someone came to let the cop know that everything was okay, and so the cop raised the okay sign like it's okay. Something that's basically the story I heard. Maybe he was flashing the okay sign. I don't know, but that's so ridiculous, man, because the okay sign doesn't mean anything. It means okay. And you think this cop understands any of this? They'll claim he does. If you ever see someone flash the okay sign, which literally means okay, they will claim, it's proof, we caught you. And how do you tell them otherwise? They don't want to hear it. They are addicted to the rage. They are addicted to the anger. And they post and they're angry nonstop. It's a sickness. It's bad for you. The craziest thing to me is that I see people who I once respected for their calm rationale just being rage addicts. They always want to be furious. They assume the worst of literally everything. They live in a paranoid delusional state. And the Democrats and the establishment left think they can wield that power to defeat Donald Trump. Maybe they can. Maybe that rage addiction will work. I'll leave it there. Next segment's coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.